But I think the best part about LaRussaPalooza is in Game 3, over the airwaves.
Yeah.
The crowd united in a fire Tony chant that could the shot heard around the world.
Yeah, it was quite audible.
Yeah.
Somebody pointed out that Jason and Steve stepped out after you could hear that, and they didn't say anything for about 15 seconds. And it's almost like they wanted that to get out on the air, and they weren't going to shout it down, or they're almost in support of it. I think that might be reckless speculation, but I thought that was interesting that could have been alleviated a little bit by the broadcasters, and they chose for whatever reason not to.
Yeah, they
speak over the top of it. They wanted the ambiance of the crowd to infiltrate the broadcast. So
they could have, they could have spoken over it and made a funny little joke. But
yeah, they let it wash over us, and it was a glorious internet moment to be replayed forever. Perfect punctuation to the LaRussaPalooza circus of last weekend.
Yeah, and the Sox take off for Houston now. I mean, this is a real test, and we'll see how they respond. But I don't think, because, no offense, that we beat the Tigers for 3 games, that all is right in the world. The one thing with Tony, this should fall under LaRussaPalooza too, before we unearth one of my favorite things you created years ago that always makes me laugh. But have you been following the Jay Cuda 1983 White Sox, 2022 White Sox stats, and how
I have, because I follow at Sox Stats?
Oh, good.
Twitter,
you do read the tweets I do over there. It is ridiculous. I realize they're 2 completely different teams in 2 completely different worlds, but just it's just weird. The coincidence is bizarre, and we are in the phase, as the Sox have won 3 in a row. The record they hit coming out of Sunday was then when the 83 Sox won like 10 out of 11 games or 10 out of 12 games. So let's see what's up, boys and girls out there. Maybe the run's about to occur. So
you are the identical to the 1983.
Well, I sure hope not, because that means another first round exit.
I don't know how long you want to draw that analogy, because
I know it doesn't end well, but I think that's
know your history, kids.
Everyone thinks that if we were to win 99 games and make the playoffs, that, I saw some Twitter polls out there that's asked, would you rather have the Sox miss the playoff and La Russa be fired, or make the playoffs and La Russa stays? But I think the part of that question that is missed, which I responded to it, I said, one, if you're not a fan if you're rooting against your team, no matter who the manager is. I don't think you're a fan of that team. And number 2, if they exit in the first round again, I don't think he gets to stay. If I don't think he gets to stay. That's unacceptable. Yeah, you had 2 years in a row of a first round exit, and maybe you give him, it's his first year back. Maybe you give him a little bit of a pass last year, but you know what? They have to advance in the playoffs if they make the playoffs. And
the only argument I would make against that is, I don't know if you've heard this, but I was just listening to the White Sox Talk Live podcast, whatever it's called, NBC Sports, Chuck Garfien.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I forgot the reporter's name he was on with, but he mentioned that it was finally revealed in somebody's tweet this week that Tony has a 3-year deal. It was never really common.
Oh yeah, we never knew that.
It was never really common knowledge how long the deal was. So that is now, it wasn't like announced by the White Sox or anything, but that is a fact that's out there. So that might be a mitigating factor to consider how long the La Russa reign will continue, just because, obviously the relationship between he and Jerry, I think Jerry, would certainly feel guilty or reluctant to fire him before that contract is over. And if we know that deal is now 3 years, I think it's more likely than not that he'll let him ride out that 3 years, so he doesn't have that guilt on his deathbed.
Well, thanks a lot for that news.
Sorry.
You son of a
Uh,
bitch. You've been holding that one in your back pocket.
I listened to it this afternoon. It's
Oh,
I think it's episode 701 of the White Sox podcast, White Sox Talk podcast. So check
you
that out. That's
you
the biggest tidbit.
you text me that Hendricks is on the IL, which I had already put on our fucking Twitter handle like half hour earlier, but then you don't text me this.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm during MLA, I'm gonna sideswipe you with news.
Dirty pool. That's how we do it on Sox type thing. Backstabbing.
Word Hole Media.